Today we're going to talk about snakes. Yeah, rattlesnakes. Hello everyone, Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, miscellaneous odds and ends, and I'm inviting you to come along on my journey as I count down to Texas and my off-grid adventure down there. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. If you're wondering what you're watching, well, basically you're watching me walk. I know that doesn't seem super exciting, but a little over 2 years ago I couldn't do that. I could barely stand for a couple minutes without severe pain. Now, I'm out here walking every day. I've been outside walking every day, almost every day for 2 full years now. Look at that brush pile my neighbor still has behind me. It's overhead high on a lot of spots. Hopefully the city comes through and takes care of that sometime soon. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. It means a lot to me that you spend just a few moments of your day with me. I'd like to ask y'all to help me out. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Drop down in the comments and say, "Hi, Bob." And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. All these things help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 61 years old. I'm doing things I couldn't do when I was 40. Like walking as hard as I can up this hill. Hopefully in preparations for sprinting up this hill at some point. But for now, this fast walk will do. As I say every time I come up this hill, if you're adding a new exercise, make sure you do it slowly because you don't want to injure yourself and make it so that you have to start all over again. So I encourage you to push yourself like I'm pushing myself to go even faster up this hill. But push yourself in a smart, safe way. Give me just a moment to get to the top of this hill, and then we'll talk about snakes. Do I think you have to exercise to lose weight or fat? If you're trying to lose fat, you don't have to exercise. I think it helps, but remember the old adage that you cannot outrun a bad diet. That's where people from the that TV show with the gal that was screaming at them, where they made their mistake, and why some of them have had their health destroyed for the long term. Because eating that little and working out that hard is not good for you. Okay, now I can slow down to the normal walking speed and show you that I'm at that stop sign. Where'd it go? Oh, I'm sort of on the side of it. There it is. Now we're going to walk on down this way. Even though I've already done some work outside, now that I'm down to working just one day a week at the miniature golf course, among everything else, with getting ready to go to Texas, I'm going to try and do at least one lap all the way around this big block every day, which is about 1.5 miles. On days I'm not doing other stuff, I'll probably do at least 2 laps, if not 3. Because I want to make sure I keep my exercise levels up. Even though I just told you that you don't need to exercise to lose weight or fat, I'm not exercising to lose fat. I'm exercising to increase the things that I can do. And that's really why we should want to get in intentional movement. You know, as Coach Bronson's talked about a lot, I've mentioned it a few times, and all the other people, you know, Professor K, Jonathan at Carnivore Muscle, they've all talked about it. As we get older, we want to just be able to do the things that we need to do in our everyday life. And if you think about it, getting up and down off the toilet is something we have to do until the day we are no longer here, unless we want to be laying in a bed and having a nurse or some relative have to change our diaper. And that's no way to live. What is getting up and down off the toilet? Well, it's a squat. So even if the only intentional movement you're doing is sit stands, which is, you know, where you, when you get up off the couch to go get a drink of water at the kitchen, you stand up like you're going to go to the kitchen, then you sit back down, then you stand up again and go to the kitchen and get your drink of water. When you get back to the couch with your water glass, you set it down, then you sit down on the couch, then you stand up again, and then you sit back down. You know, it doesn't seem like that little bit would make that big of a difference, but that's a lot of extra movement in a day, especially for somebody, if you're older, just trying to stay independent in your own house. Being able to get up and down off the toilet safely is a really big deal to help keep you independent. Now, as promised, let's go ahead and talk about rattlesnakes for my off-grid adventure. This is a pretty short topic, that's why I added in a longer carnivore topic today. There are, and I've been watching a lot of YouTubers, especially the professional pest removal guys, and there are a lot of sprays and potions and powders that you can sprinkle on your property that are supposedly like an invisible fence to keep snakes off your property. They don't work. None of them work. Some work a little bit, but they don't work. The best way to keep rattlesnakes off your property is with prevention. What draws a rattlesnake somewhere? Because they have a very good sense of smell. The smell of food, and then if they find a cool, damp place, like under a slightly dripping water tank, that's the kind of place rattlesnakes like to hang out. So the main thing of prevention, let's talk about the second one first. They like cool, damp places. As I put in water tanks, I am going to elevate them enough so that I can see underneath them, and that'll help with water pressure as well. But I have to be very careful to make sure they don't leak. And I'm not talking about the kind of leak that's going to make your tank drain out overnight, because those are big leaks you can spot. But that tiny little drip, 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 that will make a damp spot in the shade underneath the tank. And rattlesnakes, well, all snakes, but specifically I'm talking about rattlesnakes because I'm moving to the desert of West Texas. Snakes love cool, damp places. Now, is it that much cooler in the shade underneath a water tank to attract them? Oh yeah. And the dampness will really attract them. So if you get rattlesnakes on your property and they find cool, damp places or junk piles to hide under, they'll stay there. So you want to make sure you keep your property as neat as possible. The other thing is food source. What's the primary food source that a rattlesnake loves to eat? Mice. And there are a lot of mice in the desert. Once again, you can get all sorts of potions and sprays and powders and traps and things to get rid of mice. But the best way to keep mice off of your desert homestead, and this is not my information, this is what I've watched from other people. There's a lot of really good channels out there if you're really looking for the hows and whys. But keeping things neat and clean will help prevent mice. Now, I have the upper hand because my food is going to be beef, eggs, butter. And anytime I have trash, and we're going to talk about coffee here in just a minute too. Anytime I have trash, it's either going to go into the burn barrel or out to the compost pile. I'm not going to have any grains to spill because one little seed of something falling on the ground will attract a mouse. I'm not going to have any of that stuff. And when I'm done cooking, my skillet, after I wipe it out, is going to go back into a sealed plastic container. I don't think mice are attracted to grease. If I'm wrong about that, feel free to correct me on that, because I haven't looked into it that much. But the grease and the paper towels that I wipe out my pans with, as well as my coffee grounds, are all going to go into the compost pile, which will be a nice evening walk across the property away from where I'm building everything else. So that if I do get mice that then attract snakes, they'll be out there rather than right around where I'm living. And I discovered in North Carolina a couple winters ago, something I didn't know. Mice like coffee. The church I was staying at, in their parking lot, had those pod style coffee makers. So I bought myself a case of coffee pods. And I'd just open up the front door of my truck, grab a coffee pot, go inside, and make myself a cup of coffee. Well, after a week or so, I saw coffee scattered around. I'm like, oh, I must have one of those pods that's leaking. So I started digging through, and there were quite a few of them that had been chewed through. So apparently, mice like coffee. I separated them all out. Those that were chewed got thrown away. Those that weren't chewed, I put them in big Ziploc baggies to give them a first seal, and then put the Ziploc baggies inside a sealed container to basically give me 2 levels of smell protection. And I stopped seeing mice dancing around inside my truck. So you have to be aware that if mice don't have something to eat, they're not going to invade your property. And again, keeping things clean and organized will help with that. So if I don't have mice, I shouldn't have snakes. I'm sure I will occasionally see a rattlesnake. That's just part of living in the desert. But we also have to remember that snakes are just as much afraid of us as we are of them. And if you back off and give them some space, most of the time they'll realize that, oh, hey, there's something I don't like living here. And they'll move on. I've got some plans for keeping snakes out from underneath my trailer, as well as helping keep the scorpion population down as well. We'll talk about those in an upcoming video. For now, I think I've talked plenty. We're up to almost 16 minutes in the video. So I should probably flip the screen around, show you where I'm walking, and say cue the music. You're probably not going to see a lot of the walk home, because this is where I'll probably insert the weeds I did in the backyard. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that when we get home. Let's go ahead and cue the music. Now I know a bunch of you are gonna, well, a few of you are gonna jump down in the comments and say, it's just eat less and move more, Bob. That's all there is to it. That's what you have to do. Eat less, move more. Well, I'm going to show you something here real quick. It shouldn't take very long, right here at the end of the video. If you go back and watch my video from a little over 2 years ago, that first walking video, I was standing right here when I turned the camera on. And now I'm going to show you where I walked to. I have to go out and around the big brush pile because I can't get down the sidewalk in front of the neighbor's house because, well, there's brush in the way. And I don't want to walk in the neighbor's yard. So I'll go out to the street. And if you have to move to lose fat, according to some of you people, how is it that I lost very close to my first 100 pounds just sitting in the house? It was a full 4 months before I took my first walk to right here. That's as far as I walked. Then I turned around and headed back up the little short hill to the house. I believe I made a comment about I forgot my cane, and I'm going to have to call 911 if I don't make it home. That's all the farther I walked. And here in just a moment, I'll be back in front of the house. So tell me, how did I lose almost 100 pounds in 4 months if you must exercise to lose fat? I'll wait. No, I won't wait because the video's almost done. But, so just remember, you don't have to exercise to lose fat. I believe exercise is important for our health journey so that we want to be able to do the things that we're trying to do later in life. Like take the dog for a walk, take grandkids to the zoo, whatever it is. There are things we want to do, even if it's just staying independent and getting up and down off the toilet. We need to do some functional movement to keep ourselves healthy enough so that we can do those things. Hopefully in there somewhere you saw some of the footage from my backyard this morning. I almost had that corner cleaned out back before the storm hit. All of those weeds grew back in over the course of the 6 weeks or so that I couldn't get back there due to the dead tree limbs hanging way up high. And I've got some more hanging way up high here. I hope my tree service gets here sometime in the next few weeks to take these trees out of the front yard. But anyway, hopefully some of what I said today made sense. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.